I have such high respect and high regard for people that show up and are consistent and are able to show up and work on a job. If you're thinking of it, do it. Just do the class, right? Take an action step. Yeah, that's really my passion of it. I really would love to help people in a huge impact. I love real estate because it is rewarding. But I think especially in the next 2 years, woo, who's to say? We already see, the self-driving. A lot of that I feel like is tied in with our robotics and technology that we're seeing.
Well, welcome back, folks, to another Stellar Mind podcast, the show where we dive deep into the real stories behind today's most driven entrepreneurs. I'm Thomas Scott, your host, and today I have an amazing guest. Her name is Gabrielle Ringler. She is a 10-year real estate veteran this January. She's an author, and she's going to talk today about her story, how she's been able to grow and scale using relationships, technology, strategies. Gabrielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. We talked to a lot of real estate professionals. I think you're the first one that's an author, so I'm really interested in learning a little bit about, that book, how you came across, why you wanted to dive into that and create, an asset of sorts. But before we get into the meat and the bones here, I kind of want to take us all the way back, right? I want to go to where Gabrielle kind of had this mind shift when she decided, I want to get into real estate. So, why don't you walk us through what were you doing before real estate and what inspired you to get into that industry?
I think the question is, what wasn't I doing? I
Okay.
I think I freaked my parents out because I had so many jobs and just wasn't satisfied. Trying to do the corporate America thing and running through the ranks and realizing that it felt like there was a dead end to the process of things, even in different industries, working in the healthcare industry, Medicare, Medicaid, a lot of hospitality. Went to college, hated it, to be honest with you. I never really enjoyed school per se. I like to go to get dressed and show up, but school and academics and actual studies just wasn't really my top focus.
Mm.
So yeah, so I just ran through a lot of different things, selling cars, uh, working retail, having a cleaning business, thinking of starting other different businesses. So just trying different things until I actually was downtown and there was a older woman and she just looked like she knew where she was going. And at that time, I just kind of was lost in things. And I just asked her, I'm like, hey, we just struck a small conversation. She said she's a realtor. I was like, do you love it? She's like, yeah. She's like, I make my own schedule. And she was like, it's very rewarding. So that kind of stuck with me. And yeah.
Well, you said what did you not do? And that was definitely a lot of uh, things that you obviously were doing to kind of find yourself, right? We're younger, we're just like, hey, what am I doing? And most of the time, it's just to make money. We don't when we're that younger, if you don't have that guidance or someone saying, hey, you need to kind of put into play some type of strategy or career to get you where you want to be, whether that's building wealth or whatever. Most young people, including myself, we just kind of dabble until we hit something that really strikes us. And so this woman you met, it looked like she had it all together. And obviously, you probably picked her brain about what that looked like. So, what was it about that conversation that actually made you jump forward? And did she help you? Was there any mentorship? Was she a broker? Maybe you can walk us through that.
You know what's weird? Actually, this is the first time I actually thought about that. It actually is a little strange, but it was really a sense of peace that like it was in the middle of the day. She had just such a sense of peace in her day, it felt like. And that was at such a very much where 9 to 5 was kind of non-negotiables, especially in the job force.
Right.
So to see her just kind of like handling business, but at such a ease about her. And she seemed, she appeared successful. So no, we didn't have a very like deep conversation where I knew if she was a broker or an agent or recommended me to, buy a book or go to school. It wasn't that. It was just, again, I think a sense of peace and success that she told me that she had for herself.
And it also sounds like being in control of your life was very important. You mentioned 9 to 5, kind of just running through that rat race, that corporate ladder. But something about her in real estate struck you as far as I can get control. There was a piece about her. So obviously that was a big step. And so did you go all in? Like what happened next after that?
No. So I'm like very much a thinker and very analytical. So at that, I will say, somewhat of a risk taker as well. But at that time, no, it's not like I immediately jumped ship. Just something again that I thought I was like, oh, maybe I'll do that when I'm older. Because again, she was probably in her 60s. So just like, okay, that could be something that I'll enjoy later on in life. And again, just, worked in the natural space, kind of fell in love with that realm of things and touring with self-employment and things on that realm. And then that's where sales came back in line. I was selling, oh my gosh, a little embarrassing, but random art from like a Craigslist job, and he just put like a bunch of art in my car, and we rode around and just sold artwork, and I sold a couple pieces in a parking lot. So that's kind of where I was like,
Wow.
okay, let me jump back into sales. And maybe it was a Google search, I don't remember, but that's when I was like, let's try a real estate class.
Wow. A little street hustle there. Just whatever we got to do to pay the bills, huh?
Yeah, and and again too, right, is freedom. Like I just very much I cannot stand being tied to a cubicle, and I'm not claustrophobic. It's just the air in a building with the ceilings and the lights. It just was not my cup of tea 40 hours a week, especially when you got your work done in 2 to 3 hours and then you feel like you're just doing nothing for the rest of the day.
Like your life is just passing by and
You
you're
can
not
just so
really
much
engaged. Your potential is not being you're just not tapping into that, right? So I think a lot of people can relate to that. Um, let's talk about your pursuit of time and financial freedom. How did that shape your early steps? Because obviously that like there has to be that mind shift from this 9 to 5. I don't want to work for someone. There's a lot of people who do, and that's totally fine if that's the vehicle right now that's going to get them to where they're trying to be at. But for me, it was like Robert Kiyosaki. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it just like I was 22 years old, 23, something like that, and my mind just blew up. Right, I was like, whoa, like I do not want to do this job, and we're obviously part of this human experience as a American civilization and society where kind of go to school, go to college, get a wife, have kids, and then you retire and you die, right? That's kind of what's taught. And so when I realized that there's other options where I could really live a life full of abundance and really not just survive but thrive, that was kind of where it changed for me. Maybe you can share a little bit about how, that shaped your early success and moving into real estate.
No, I agree with you. And I think the key phrase is that not, to thrive, not just survive. And, there was just, I knew that there's more to life than just the mundane. And again, too, right? I think everybody's view of that is different. I have such high respect and high regard for people that show up and are consistent and are able to show up and work on a job 15, 10 years and do the same thing, because that takes a level of heart and consistency and grit that I do think should be rewarded. And I think in this consistency, it's like, oh, if you're not an entrepreneur, you're not successful. And I don't think that at all.
Right.
But everybody has, like you said, that like stirring in their heart where if you are sitting at a desk and you're just like, like there's got to be more than this, then
Yeah.
I think there absolutely is. And, figure that out. And yeah, for me, I love real estate because it is rewarding. And it was something that gave me the best of both worlds. It did give me that flexibility.
Hmm.
And I will say, maybe not at first, but also because I am to kind of like go all in. And I didn't set boundaries. So there were a lot of learning experiences, especially in the first few years.
Sure.
But definitely very, very rewarding and, definitely something where you can work on your pace if you allow that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell us what type of real estate do you specialize in?
Residential primarily. Tap
Residential.
into commercial, but yes, primarily residential.
And do you work with both sellers and buyers as an agent?
Yes. Heavier on the listing side, but I do, work with definitely a large pool of buyers.
And what about are you doing only like retail, turnkey, or do you work with investors and things of that nature?
All the above. I like that too. I think that's another thing that I love too of this industry is that it can be very niche if you want to just specialize in something, just new construction or just working with investors, or if you like a handful and a variety of things, which I do because I also love people. So I love different, meeting different people and finding their needs and figuring out what their passion project is and their why. So I like working with a different variety of clients.
Yeah, I once again, I talk to a lot of real estate agents. I am, a wholesaler, I'm an investor, I flip, I do land acquisition, so we entitle land and work with developers. And so I hear it a lot. There are some, like you said, that the agents that just want to stay in their lane, luxury, commercial, new development, whatever it might be, and that's cool. I always have like this thing in my head where because there's some agents like I don't even want to work with investors, and it's probably because they've had some bad experiences or just don't like how they operate. Maybe they don't understand that world, and so it's just a little bit of a put off. But it seems like you're being very flexible. And I mean, think about it, if you work with investors. These guys, if you work with some of the ones that are more predominant, they're buying three, four, five properties a month, and that could subsidize some of the retail stuff to keep that pipe flow, full of opportunities. So I commend you on that because there's a lot of agents that just don't want to work with investors. But once again, I think they just have a bad understanding of how that operation works and just would rather make it easy and work with retail, whether that's a bigger paycheck versus, smaller paychecks, but over time, a lot more volume, if you may. Um, let's kind of
I just
pivot
think
here. Yeah, go
May I
ahead.
touch on the investor part too? So I actually, when I got started, I was very much told, don't work with investors; they're a waste of time. They're just going to, drag you along, kind of thing. Um, but no, and so there is unfortunately kind of that reputation of things. But I don't think that. I think yes, there are some where you get the mass text messages, and it's just volume of these big hedge funds that are sending you the text messages. But you said very well, there are investors that are buying flipping, and then you very well can be the listing agent on the other side. So it
You
can
could
be very,
double dip essentially, it's crazy. But to each their own. And I respect it all, of course. But you just imagine, like I talked to thousands like of realtors over the years, and I might even put a class on how to help realtors actually make more revenue and understanding, investors' world. Maybe I'll do something like that because it seems like there's a lot of once again that just kind of they don't get it. They want to stay in their lane. So I'm glad to see you're at least diversifying, a little bit and keeping that pipeline full. Um,
yeah.
I asked you a question on the pre-interview questionnaire. I asked you, what's one challenge that you faced in business that taught you something valuable? And you mentioned um, some things, and I'm just curious. Why don't you walk us through a time when you missed an opportunity? Maybe it really hurt. What happened, and what did you take away from it? So maybe something that you could think about where it was just a huge lesson, and maybe now it's like a non-negotiable from that experience.
So honestly, it's not returning a phone call or just delivering on time. and that really cost me. So I received a voicemail and I saw the voicemail, and I remember I was at an appointment, but usually I'm really good about sending a text message if, I'm unavailable, I'm at an appointment, hey, I'm at an appointment, I'll call you right back. And I didn't. We just got into conversation, and the next thing you know, it's 30 minutes later. So I called the, prospective buyer once I got out of the appointment, and they're like, "Oh no, we already put the offer in. We're cash. They accepted it. We're good to go." And I'm just like, "That's $13,000 that you just immediately is down the drain in 30 minutes." So yeah, just like that, it can cost you by not communicating. So
Mm.
I try to overly communicate and, you know, really just try to overpromise. I mean, I'm sorry, um, what is that? And I'm sorry, I just drew a blank. But when you make sure that you over deliver for your
Yeah, I
clients.
mean, at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all going to drop the ball somewhere, right?
Like,
And yeah, and so I love that you quantified that as a number, right? You're like, that was potentially X amount of dollars, 13 grand down the drain. And if you start to compound that as an agent, you start to really look inward and look at your processes and your systems and start going, well, how many calls did I miss? Whether it's from a seller, a potential listing agreement, or a buyer that could be buying this property that you worked super hard to get in front of, it starts to equate. And I see a lot of agents keep they lose a lot of money. They leave a lot of money on the table by not having these processes and systems. Because at the end of the day, you're one person, unless you delegate and you hire VAs or people to help you, receptionists, call centers, lead managers. Um, Unless you're really investing in these people and delegating and hiring, you got to do it all yourself. And agents, and I'm sure you probably didn't realize this when you first got into it, but you're not just an agent in the whole eco side of it all, but you're a salesperson, you're a marketer, you're a data an analyzer, you're a receptionist, you're a negotiator, you're a closer, you're a transaction coordinator, you're like so many things. And so I'm super glad you brought that up because that's huge. And at my company, that's obviously a big deal that we hear from agents. How do we use AI and technology to ensure that we don't drop the ball and make these mistakes as we move forward? So I'm super glad you mentioned that because that kind of segues into this next part right before we jump into about this book here. But I want to talk about systems and strategy. You've been around for a decade now. You've kind of seen tools and shiny objects come and go. But I want to learn, like, what's something that you technology, whatever you can share, that whether it's a process or software, whatever it might be, a CRM, something like that, that you would recommend. What did you do? And then maybe someone's listening here as a new agent, they're thinking about getting into it, or maybe they've just been in it, but they're hitting roadblocks, and maybe something that you can share can actually have that aha moment. What were some of the things and tools that you started using in your business to help improve on some of these things, like not getting the call, not responding, following up, things of that nature?
So a CRM is a must. I can't believe, yeah, I don't know how anyone survives, in sales without it. So I just think that's a non-negotiable. There's so many options that are, affordable. Right now, I'm using Income, and I really like that option because it gives you the website as well as a CRM. And not a lot of them have that duality, or
And
they're
what
very
was that again?
Income,
Income?
I INCOM. And
Okay.
the customer service has been really good. So that's been a really good goodie. So I highly recommend that. But definitely a CRM of your choice. There's Lion Desk. What is it? Bowl Trail. I think that's what it's turned into from the previous owner or name. But just so many. So anyway, that it's just you put it in, plug it in when you get a client, anybody that you meet, put their information, at least a phone number and email, and add your notes. And if you put those tasks in where it automatically either can, automate your emails for you or remind you to follow up, it's a game changer.
Yeah, so super glad to hear that. 10 years in the business, let me ask you this. Do you think anyone, an agent, can grow or scale their business or get to a point where they're just not pulling their hair out without having a CRM?
No, I mean, unless they're, an Excel wizard and, they know how to do all those freaky things in the Excel spreadsheet and they like that, then yeah. But if you're not using a spreadsheet or something, or the Rolodex, but there has to be some way that you have, you're housing all of these people that you're meeting with and they're going to remember you.
Yeah.
And you're going to remember to reach out to them.
Exactly, right. Follow up. 80% of deals are going to be closed in the follow up process. And so I just like you, I don't really fathom how anyone who's has a business at all is able to flourish in a technology world without having at least the foundational CRM system to capture, manage, and nurture leads. You mentioned a couple that you had, and obviously, like AI is everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. Obviously, a lot of people still don't even know what it is, let alone have started investigating it, researching it, or leveraging it to become more efficient, more productive, more profitable. I'd like to get your take on how you're leveraging AI technology right now, whether that's comping properties, social media content, maybe systems that are helping you with ensuring that you don't miss calls, follow up, any of those things. What what are you using, if anything, right now regarding AI in your process and in your systems?
So it is a nice, like a third party tool. I still love to do my own comps, but it is nice to run your comps because it's freaky fast. And it is nice to just get, like you said, another outside opinion, if you will, on your numbers. And I feel like you're not doing a service to, your client by doing it. It helps. Absolutely. So that is, I think, huge. And if you're not doing, check it out, try it. I think it's been great. A lot of the other things I may be slower at pace just because, as much as I rely on technology, I also am very old school and kind of grassroots as well in my business. So, as far as calls, I don't, and again, I don't know. But right now, I like being able to answer my phone and just allowing them to hear my voice. And at least, even if I can't get to them right now, letting them know, hey, I'll call you right back, or sending them a text message that comes from me and it feels like it comes from me.
Yeah, well, you mentioned communication was a big life lesson in your business, and it seems like you're very passionate. Like you said, you love people and actually trying to get there. At the end of the day, as much as you love people and you want to answer that call, sometimes you're just not available. And people, speed to lead is everything, right? So, um, you don't know what you don't know, right? And when it comes to AI, there's so many ways that people are starting to utilize it. And it all comes down to saving time. That's what I found out. I built systems for my own real estate company over 2 years ago. I was a little bit on the forefront of the technology. I was creating AI agents that literally answer the phone for us. They would be able to transfer calls. They were scheduling appointments right then and there for sellers that were calling in and buyers. It was also doing all of the follow up for us, whatever that might have been. Maybe you talked to a seller 3 months ago, they just weren't ready, and now you put them in an automation where the AI lives and is having full on conversations with people via text and voice. And so I built these for myself because I saw where the future was going, and I saw within that first year a huge improvement, 20-30% conversion rates. As far as calls coming in, we spend a lot of money on marketing, advertising, and when you run a small operation, you want to be able to capitalize all of that resources, right? I just spent all this money, I want to get leads, and then boom, you're at a showing, you can't answer, and then guess what? Just like you said, they're calling the next person and they already got a contract, and it's so quick and it can happen. So I'm seeing AI not only in our own business but our clients. being able to use that technology to ensure that they never miss a call again and that they're doing follow up because these are all like little low level tasks that can eat a small operator's time up and just really kill productivity. So AI in our eyes and what we're seeing is opening it up for operators to really have those high level conversations, sales, negotiating, showings, right? And getting contracts and deals done. Where do you see AI being implemented in your own business or just as a whole society over the next 12 to 24 months?
Oh, I think it's moving so fast that I think that especially, excuse me, I apologize. But I think especially in the next 2 years, woo, who's to say? We already see, the self-driving car. A lot of that I feel like is tied in with our robotics and technology that we're seeing, and the USA kind of is, one of the most advanced, countries in that in technology. So I think who knows? I feel like the sky is the limit in 2 years. I think in the next, year, a lot on our phone, right? With like you said, the apps, the automation, calling people and being able to utilize like these services that you were saying and feeling more comfortable. And I think probably being able to connect the dots because I think one part is being able to edit and like modify easier. And I think it's getting more fine tuned to what we want to as like the consumer per se.
Yeah. What's one, I'm just curious here. What's one part of your business that you dread doing, but you can't ignore? It's a good one.
Uh,
What's one part of your business you
so
dread
honestly,
doing, can't ignore?
so probably honestly, it's like if I were to make it in another tax bracket, were to get like a chauffeur or some type of true, because I hate driving sometimes. I drive usually to 3 counties, every week. So sometimes it's like the driving and the traffic is, that would be the one thing if there was a way to figure that out.
Driving. Well, that's the first time I've heard that one.
Yeah, driving to counties, a little rough. Pasco, Pinellas, Hernando, Hillsborough. So yeah, sometimes it gets a little
What do
brutal.
you do in your time when you're driving? It sounds like you spend a lot of time on the road. What do you do?
Podcasts. Yeah,
Nice.
podcast, yeah.
Always growing, always learning, right? Anywhere you can. I have a I don't know if it's a problem or what. I think in our society we're so engaged with just all of these things, social media and TV and just some entertainment and we're just so stimulated all the time. But for me, like any chance I have to listen to something, to read something in between just me maybe walking downstairs or in the car or I'm at a gym, right? And I'm working out and I'm just listening. I think that's, really important, but I don't know if it's a bad thing either because I believe in calming down and really just being in the moment and recognizing oneself, where you at, who am I? Like I do a lot of meditations, body scanning, and it's really helped me over the years calm down because I just, as an entrepreneur, our minds just go a million miles an hour. You got 4 kids, a young one there. I mean, it's just so much on our plate. So, listening to podcasts everywhere you're going is sounds like a lot like me. Um, let's pivot here. You're an author, right? It's an average day. Once again, I talked to an agent who's written a book. Tell us about that process. What's the name of the book? And kind of in short form, what it's all about and the value it brings.
Yes, so the name of the book, and thank you. And thank you again for having me and allowing me to share more about the project because I'm really excited.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
the name is Buyer's Agent 101. And the reason why is I noticed there are a lot of real estate books out there, but not a lot that puts a lot of focus on a buyer's agent. It's mostly, how to sell a home, listing agent. But 9 times out of 10, when you become an agent, you don't really have listings unless, maybe a family member, your broker entrusts you to, go put you on a listing.
Hmm.
Um, But you are typically working with buyers, especially in the beginning of your career. So I think
Hmm.
it's very important to just have an understanding of how to, service them better. And if I could offer any assistance in that, that's just was the goal.
Now, is that like a story? Is there strategies in there? Walk us through kind of maybe just the meat of it and then where people can find the book and potentially take an, I assume they're for sale, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, of course.
So it's actually really cool. So I did the self-publishing thing, looked into the publication aspect, and a lot of it, to be honest with you, was very overwhelming. So I have another PDF that I'm getting ready. I have the finishing touches on, but I'll have that available. I think it will be very helpful. It just gives you kind of a layman's terms. Here you go if you want to self-publish in a quick meat and potatoes version.
Hmm.
Um, because I wish I had that because it did take me a long time just to kind of sift through on how to do this. But it is available now on Barnes and Noble, Walmart, Amazon, and a few other local bookstores as well. So that's exciting. And then the basis of it is yes, just to help, very informative. A lot of descriptive detail just in regards to the process of things, tips, mistakes that I made, and just helpful ways to get your career started. Or if you need a reset and wondering, hey, why am I stagnant? Maybe this can help just to kind of revamp your career and allow you to feel more confident.
Well, congratulations. That's a really cool feat to have accomplished.
Thank
And,
you.
I know a lot of people that's like scratch it off my bucket list. I wrote a book.
Yeah.
And with AI too, like I see publishing companies. I have a friend of mine who actually owns a publishing company, and AI is making it a lot easier to publish books and kind of help people like yourself be more of an authority and share and teach people. Is this book for beginners or veterans or for anyone who's just looking to grow and maybe learn something new?
Honestly, I think anyone can use it in their career. The nice thing too is that, not all training is the same, especially when you're starting as a realtor. A lot of times it's, maybe you're working with a brokerage that requires a lot of training, but it seems it's not like it's real world training. So I do think that this book really does offer a realistic, real world training to get you out there. Or, hey, I've been doing this for a while, but I feel like I need more tools. I
Hmm.
think that you may find some gems in here.
Awesome, awesome. And we'll if they're so they can just go to Barnes and Noble's retail um or go direct to consumer, I assume.
Yeah, you can also, so my website as well is being revamped for buyersagent101.com. I have a personal website, realtorgabrielle.com, and it's available there, as well as on Amazon, probably is, the easiest for everyone because it's on Prime if you have it, and available on Walmart. And like I said, Barnes and Noble too, if you're a Barnes and Noble shopper for reward points.
That's awesome. Yeah, fantastic. I love to hear people growing and adding value to our community and society as a whole. I love reading tons of books and just you got to keep on improving and learning and growing. Speaking of learning and growing, I want to know how you stay mentally sharp, when pressure gets high, um, or the deals just aren't flowing. How do you keep yourself in this mental state of mind where you're not freaking out, and you're just staying focused still?
So I have a very strong belief in the Lord. So that's how me and my family are our belief system. But to be honest with you, that's what anchors me. Because yeah, I do have a midst of peace, and it's wild how things get done. Because a lot of life happens, right? Especially in a decade with children, life, family, and especially being commission based. Things can get scary, but just like how like the birds, they are get fed without fail. It's true. Me and my family have been fed without fail. So yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that because it sounds like your faith system is obviously helped you through these times. There's some people out there that don't have a faith system, and it almost would seem that people don't have a grounding an understanding of maybe what they're believing, or maybe, we're all always learning and growing, whether it's your faith in something, but more connecting with God, the universe, the quantum field, the divine source, whatever you call it, right? Tell us more about, your faith, and kind of a little bit deeper on when those times get tough. How do you kind of operate still?
So, I've always been very spiritual, and so I always explored. And again, too, I'm like a lover of exploration, a lover of learning. So I walk through so many different, like paths of religion, beliefs, if you will. But yeah, I mean, honestly, nothing's given me that, but the love of Jesus. So I know that is such a, oh, here you go kind of answer. But really, it's just a arms open wide, just kind of lean in, and yeah, like God is love, God loves you, and just kind of tap in. And I think that you'll be surprised of what you'll feel back. And a lot of times it's us, right? Because in my belief system, the creator, God doesn't move. So if we're feeling far from God, it's us feeling like a heart in our wall or something. So just like step in, tap in, um, do it weird. Doesn't have, say whatever, do whatever, do it your way, but truly, I do believe, we are made and we're created for this time, right? Like we're created for this time, and we're made to be here, and let's do it. So yeah, tap in if we need some help along the way, because it's there.
Well, you heard it, folks. Tap in. The source. God is everywhere at the same time, everywhere in its complete entireness, right? And it's not less anywhere over here or there. So, like you said, if you're feeling like you're away from God, just like a fish trying to find God in he's swimming in water, right? It's like trying to make sense of it all, but the fish is swimming in water. That is God, and that is the source. And I really appreciate that. It was beautiful. And I think sometimes people just need to hear that, like they're having a bad day, or they feel like, oh man, this deal just fell through. Hey, just have faith. And I'm also a big proponent of being consistent as well. Like you're gonna have those ups and downs, but as long as you're consistent, which I think is like the number one secret, at least in my world, is just being consistent, and everything will fall into place, because there's seasons, and we're cyclical creatures, and we live in a cyclical world and environment and universe. Everything is operating in these things, and so I really appreciate that. Um, let's talk about, if you, Gabrielle, were to go back to your, younger self in a time machine, and you had something that you would just really want to get off your chest and make sure that the future Gabrielle really went on the right path, or learned something, what would be 2 to 3 things maybe you could tell yourself? And I'm hoping that if there's someone new in real estate, they can have a really good takeaway here as far as what they can do to start, and hopefully, hit the ground running, so to speak.
Take more risk. I look back and, I always say, oh, I don't have any regrets. I live life without regrets. But now I'm at this age and I look back and I'm like, why did I do that? Why did, and so like do it scared. And I know that that's such a, but seriously, if you're thinking of it, do it, just do the class, right? Take an action step.
Hmm.
There's so many ways, whether it's a week, 6 weeks online, take the class. And not only that, but the class is so informative too. Just we don't learn any of this stuff in school.
Yeah.
So it's so informative, and then and also too, the class is not very representative of what your job will look like. So don't get discouraged with the class and the test. I had to pass the test, I think 3 times. And I think I took the class maybe 2 or 3 times, just
Hmm.
because I wasn't feeling it the first time. And then life got in the way. So it's just keep showing up, right? And if there's something that's like keeps bothering you and you're like, it's for a reason. So like, don't be, that's my biggest thing I think to myself. I do not want to be an 80-year-old woman sitting down, feeble and thinking, damn, I wonder what if. So yeah, just do it.
Man, I just got chill bumps. That's like one of the things that like I cannot afford in my life, to have that thought of being an 89-year-old person, maybe about to die and still having some gas in the tank. I wanted to just be like, I did it all. I gave my best. And the only way I can truly say, how to do that is just take every day at a time. Don't think about the past. The past is gone. That's a figment of your imagination, right? Like the future is a figment of our imagination, which is shaped by today's things that we do, right? The things that we incorporate today, the little habits that we put in place. But yeah, that is so powerful. Like we don't want to get to this place where we just had regrets. And so for so many people, that's the case. My dad, we would drive by, cemeteries and he would play around and he'd say, you know how many people are dead in that graveyard? I'd say, how many? He goes, all of them. And I go, okay. He goes, but guess what? There are architects and musicians. There are amazing people, authors, and people in that graveyard that no one will ever know the gifts that they had, right? Because they died with them. And I am just a big proponent of trying to tell people the same. Don't be scared. Jump in, take massive, imperfect action, and just go. Fear will prevent you from doing a lot of things. And I tell my kids, failure is a necessity to succeed. We have to fail or else we're not trying. If we're not trying, we're not going to get anything out of life. So I really appreciate that. Um, as you approach your 10-year anniversary in business, what's next for Gabrielle?
So you know what? Like you said, kind of, I've always been very freakish of, okay, next year, 3 years. All right, guys, next quarter, and I am learning to slow down and not in regards to my visions and dreams because now they're at such a big point where it's taking a lot of faith. Because if I said my dreams out loud, literally the people around, they're like, okay. But I truly believe,
Big
yeah,
dreams. Yeah,
yeah,
we're so scared to have big dreams.
yeah. When I,
Hey, how much money do you want to make a year? Oh, I'd be so good with 150. Like, there's other numbers out there in the universe, right?
yeah.
Yep.
So I'm like, I'm dreaming really big, but I'm also being more appreciative of the process. And like you said, not being kind to myself, enjoying, the moment. Like my kids are growing up so fast and I'm seeing that,
Mm.
with my oldest. So yeah, I also want to really just enjoy the process of things.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think with our modern age, moving everything so quickly, once again, stimuli, 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 and wanting instant gratification, it is difficult to sit down and to just go with the flow, be in that moment. Not saying you don't need to plan and structure things to where, hey, when I get older, I don't want to keep working. None of us do. I don't think any of us want to work for the sake of money, maybe just to stay busy and be productive and be creators, because that's what we are. But I don't want to be 60, 70 still, running around. That's why I got into real estate. I really believe it's the vehicle for wealth building, whether it's wholesaling, just a short term transaction versus investing in properties using inflation, depreciation, and using that as a mechanism to create, wealth. My company now, Stellar AI Solutions, I had this business model to create recurring revenue, because if you remove me out of my real estate business, where the revenue goes, right? It's gone. And so being smarter about the future, it's okay. But like you said, really being in the moment, you got those little kiddos, they grow up so fast. You got a 17-year-old, right? It's crazy. And you got another little one that you get to do it all over again with. So I'm sure there'll be some lessons there from all your other kiddos that you're probably gonna love on that one, like they say, more than the rest. But no, that's amazing. Um, one last big question here before we do a fun little round, what I call our lightning round. what continues to fuel your mission to help people, accomplish their goals?
So again, I have so when I first became a realtor, I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start my nonprofit. I'll be able to buy like 10 homes and put single moms there and boom, because I thought it all happened so fast and,
Mm,
became a realtor, you became a millionaire and, you know, that was my 26-year-old thinking of things. Um, but it really has always been a bigger vision of this. So yeah, that's really my passion of it. I really would love to help people in a huge impact. Um, and so that really kind of drives, of course, financial freedom and location independence for me and my family. But
yep.
I would love to do big things.
Now you mentioned a nonprofit. Was that something you were thinking about when you were younger, or do you currently have a nonprofit?
No, that is something too that, especially once things, I have a little bit more to be able to add to my plate in regards to that. Because if I do it, I want to do it right.
Mm.
But that's always been definitely on my heart. So yeah, I have kind of all the meat and potatoes, if you will, of it. It's just now putting it out there.
Yeah, that's great. And, I wish you well in that venture. It obviously a nonprofit, it's another company. All right. It's another business, a lot more things you got to do to start it up, just like you started your real estate business. But it seems like you're really passionate about people and your community. And so if there's ever anything we could do to be a resource or our community to help you, you let us know when you get that thing going, and we'll see if we can help get this idea from the cosmos out from this ethos and bring it to reality. I love helping people any way I can. Um, let's have some fun, Gabrielle. You have just been a shining star, and I really have enjoyed the conversation. Lots of nuggets that I believe people can take away with. This is going to be a really fun little lightning round. Okay, I'm going to ask you just a handful of questions, and I just want you just off the top of the dome, just spit it off, and let's just have some fun with it. You ready?
I'm ready.
All righty. So, what's one tool you can't live without?
Okay. My electric blower.
For the yard? Okay. Not a car that drives itself for you, right? Just the blower. The
That stupid thing. Yeah, I use it for everything. So yeah.
favorite part of your job.
Um, Getting to meet new people.
What's the least favorite part of your job?
I told you driving, especially in traffic.
All right, driving's on the board twice. Cold calling or door knocking?
Ew, cold calling all day. I hate door knocking.
Best closing gift you ever gave someone or received?
So this one, and it's not like it was the biggest or whatever, but he was so happy. But we closed on a home, and there was a young boy, and he wanted a basketball hoop, and it was Christmas, and the basketball hoop was there when they moved in after we closed,
Wow.
and but yeah, he was like just I can still always picture his face, so that was cool.
One book or resource every new agent should read.
My book, yeah, Buyer's Agent 101. Yeah,
Duh. All right. Coffee or tea?
tea.
Are you a morning person or are you a night owl?
Oh, I know but I'm like both. I know it's weird, but I'm both. But morning, I guess.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, how do you do all this? How do you have four kids and be a night owl? I don't know. Maybe, or you're waking up early. Got all these kiddos waking up. Well, that's great. Well, Gabrielle, thank you so much for joining. And I'm just so happy that we could have you on the show. Once again, I believe there was lots of little nuggets. And for anyone who's watching, where can they connect with you? Where can they find you? We know where to purchase the book at, but if they want to personally maybe get in contact with you, pick your brain a little bit, or just follow you in your journey, where can they find you?
So my website would be the best option. It's www.realtorgabrielle.com. And then Instagram, same hashtag, Realtor Gabrielle. That's pretty much across all of the socials, and that's the best way.
Perfect. So you're pretty active on social, so I'm sure they can look you up there.
Yes, and I dive like in and out of sometimes wanting to delete all accounts and staying on, but yeah, I for now I am.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, folks, there you have it. Another amazing podcast on Stellar Minds. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you are a real estate professional or an entrepreneur with an amazing story and would like to join, you can reach me at Thomas at stellaraisolutions.com. And to learn more about our AI products and services and how it can help you save 10, 15 hours a week, help you become more efficient, productive, and profitable, you can visit us at www.stellaraisolutions.com, and you can find us all on the social media handles. Until then, we love you. God bless, and have a stellar day.